The difference between 10x and 100x coding with AI is 10 times the performance, context, and speed. To take your average 10x AI coding to 100 times better, you need Claude MCP, Model Context Protocol. But what's Claude MCP? If you're not familiar with Claude MCP, in this video, I'll open your eyes to a whole new level of coding possibilities using this new protocol. But if you already know MCP, I'll clear your confusion on Claude MCP and introduce you to a completely different way of coding with AI that will make you 100 times more productive with AI. But is MCP another AI hype? A quick answer is no. When I started learning it, I was also confused, but when I mastered it, I discovered it's the missing gap of taking your AI performance from 10x to 100x in output. In fact, when I was starting out, it was not very clear. But looking back, Claude MCP will be the 100% future of AI coding. Don't be left behind. In this video series, my goal is to take you from a complete beginner, show you what Claude MCP is, why you need it, and how you can start using it immediately. What's Claude MCP? Claude MCP, Model Context Protocol, is a standard way of connecting AI systems to where your data is stored, like your database, your document libraries, API, your home servers, work tools, and coding environments. This is an open source protocol that solves a big problem. Even the smartest AI models can't access information they need when it's locked away in different systems. Instead of building separate connections for each data source, MCP, Model Context Protocol, creates one universal method that works everywhere. This makes it easier for AI systems to access the right information, helping them provide better answers based on your actual data. So what are the Claude MCP components? Claude MCP is designed as an open source standard that creates secure two-way connections between your data source and the AI tools. The design is simple. You can either make your data available through MCP Server or build applications, which we call MCP clients, that connect to these servers. The Claude MCP includes three key elements for developers like you. First, we have the Model Context Protocol specification and the SDK. This is the core standards and the software development kits that define how MCP works and helps you to implement it. The local MCP support in Cloud Desktop apps. This is inbuilt capacity in Cloud Desktop app to function as an MCP server right on your computer. That, an open source repository for MCP servers. This is a collection of ready-to-use MCP servers implementation that you can adapt and modify for your specific needs. Let's look at each of these components in depth. MCP Specifications and SDK can be found on this repo. This is an open source protocol standard that enables you to seamlessly integrate between LLMs applications and external data sources and tools. On this repo contains the specifications, which defines the protocol specification and documentation. Other SDKs that include TypeScript SDK, which helps you build or implement with TypeScript. Python SDK, which helps you implement with Python. Java SDK, Kotlin, C#, and as well as docs for user documentation and guides. You can also use these scripts to create a Python server, which is a Python MCP server template. You can also use these to create a TypeScript MCP server, as we're going to use, as well as the Kotlin server template. We have a list of servers that are examples of currently pre-built servers that you can start using. The next component is local MCP server support in Cloud Desktop apps. But just a quick pause. I'm on a mission to build this channel to a community of AI engineers like you, where you can benefit by getting the most up-to-date information on AI tools, workflow, industry standards, and trends. I believe this information is useful for your work and your career. My current milestone is to hit 1,000 subscribers in the next 6 months. I guess if you're watching this video up to this point, you're one of us. Kindly hit that subscribe button and the like button to help us grow together. Thank you. Back to the next Cloud MCP component, local MCP support in Cloud Desktop. Cloud Desktop is your web cloud AI in form of a desktop application that is available on Windows and Mac. It works like your web-based cloud AI, with exception that it can access MCP server, which the web-based cloud does not. I will demonstrate this shortly. To connect to existing MCP servers, you need to first download and install Cloud Desktop app. Go to this URL, cloud.ai/download. Click on the download button for Windows or Mac. When the download is complete, click on install, and it's quick and fast. Log in into your cloud account. Just use the same account you use on your web-based cloud, and we are now ready to move to the next MCP component. The next MCP component is open source repository for MCP servers. You can imagine if we're building several MCP servers, having a common place where we have all of them is a great idea. There are existing open source ready-to-use MCP servers that you can begin using immediately to connect with Cloud Desktop App. This repo on GitHub lists all available MCP servers that you can connect and use on Cloud Desktop App. There is also this other repository, Awesome MCP Servers, that lists commonly available MCP servers. You can check that out. As you can see in this repo, there are some popular MCP servers like Brave Search, which is a web and local search MCP that uses the Brave Search API. GitHub, which is a repository management MCP server that helps you integrate with your GitHub API. Google Drive MCP for file access and search capabilities for Google Drive. PostgreSQL for read-only database access with schema inspection. Sequential thinking, which dynamically helps you solve problems through a thoughtful sequence process. Time MCP, which allows you to work with time and time zone conversions. Beyond these cloud-maintained MCP servers, there are also some popular third-party servers, a growing list of community-maintained servers, as well as framework to help you create your MCP servers. To learn more about these MCP servers in detail, check out other comprehensive tutorials and my MCP full course. Let's move to the next step of implementing our first MCP server, testing it practically to gain more insights on how MCP works in real-world projects. But first, we need to understand the basics of how this all works. First, we want to think about specific limitations of Cloud AI. A simple example is Cloud has no access to our current desktop, which could have some important files that we want to use in our prompt. In this problem, we have a desktop folder here that it contains all our data about a specific project X. We wish to have a way of Cloud AI to access these files and use them in the prompt. A familiar way to do this is using an upload button found in most chatbots. But this creates another problem. The data in question may not always be easy to upload. It could be larger or unsupported format, or it could be impossible to upload it since it's an external data source like API. This is where Cloud MCP servers come in to help Cloud AI access the data. The next step is to help Cloud AI access our files from the desktop, and we begin this by installing an MCP server that we can use right in the chat window to let Cloud AI access our Windows file system and therefore our desktop. It can now then use our files and process the prompt based on our data. This would still be the same approach when you're using or connecting to an external data source like APIs or remote databases. Now let's see this in action. We need to ensure that Cloud Desktop is installed and it's the latest version. You can do so by clicking on the Cloud menu, File menu, and click on this option to check updates. As you can see, we have the latest version of Cloud Desktop. The next step is to configure Cloud Desktop to work with Windows File System MCP Server that will help Cloud read our desktop work files and give our prompt context from our work files of Project X. To add this Windows File System functionality, we'll be installing a pre-built MPC server that will connect to Cloud Desktop. This is one of the dozens of servers created by Anthropic and the community. As I mentioned earlier, you can find the list of these from the Git repo. Links in the description. Get started by opening up Cloud menu, selecting Settings. Then under File menu, you can see the Developer option. Click on Developer in the left-hand bar of the Settings panel. Click on Edit Config button. This opens up the location of your configuration file that we will use to create MCP server configuration. The common location on Windows should be Windows App Data, Cloud Folder, cloud_desktop_config.json file. That's the file that we're going to be using to configure Cloud Desktop to connect to our MCP server. It's a common standard. If this file is missing, you need to create it. We open this file in a notepad. In my case, I'm using Notepad++. You can see it's empty with these two brackets. We should now replace the contents of this file with our file system MPC server. For Windows, this is the code. And for Mac, this is the code. You can find this code from the documentation link in the description. Please note the difference in the code and make sure you replace the username with your computer's username. In my case, the username is user. You can find your username by opening the terminal on Windows and running this command, who am I? This command returns a domain name and a username. Note in Windows, your username will be the value of the last part of that response. After you run this command, like in my case, you see it's Jenga-1, which is my domain name, and user is my username. This is also case sensitive in Windows, so ensure it matches the case. My correct path should be C/users, then user in capital, then desktop. You can test if this is the correct path in your desktop using this approach in the terminal. You can use cd command followed by the path, like in my case cd users user desktop, and it should take you directly to your desktop. You should also update the download folder path as well. One common mistake you'll likely make is not paying attention to the path / when adding it in Windows. The reason we add / on Windows, / are used in path files and they need to be escaped with other / within the strings in JSON. This ensures the path is correctly recognized and processed. Our next move is to ensure Node.js is installed. For MCP servers to work, we need to ensure Node.js is installed. If you don't have it installed, download and install the latest version. Most MCP servers will require a minimum version of 16. To test if you have Node installed, on the terminal you can run this command, node --version. You should see your Node version displayed. If you get an error saying command not found or Node is not recognized, download Node from nodejs.org. You should also ensure your environmental variables are configured in the Windows. You can search under Windows search for environmental variables, then configure the path to add Node.js. This makes Node.js accessible to your Windows system. At this point, we now need to restart Cloud Desktop since we have already added MCP server configuration code. In this step, we want to restart Cloud Desktop app and start testing our Windows file system in MCP servers. To properly restart Cloud Desktop app and clear the current session, you need to go to the File menu and click on Exit. Also check if it's running in the background in the Minimize Tray section. Open the Task Manager to confirm it's completely closed. Then restart it and run it as admin. I found this approach to be the best since at times it gets persistent session and your MCP server configuration may not work. Upon restarting, in the Developer menu, you should see the newly installed file system MCP server. In the chat panel, you can see a hammer icon in the bottom right corner of your input. After clicking the hammer icon, you should see the tools that come with the file system MCP server. It's now time to test the MCP server. We first need to create a file inside our Project X folder in the desktop, then add some project instruction. I'd like to build prompts management app called PromptsMan. I intend to use Next.js, Supabase, Python, Fast API stack. On my desktop, I have a project folder named Project X where I have 2 project files, project structure and database schema. I want you to use those files as our starting point for this project. So essentially, I'm trying to see, is it possible for Cloud Desktop, which is the AI, to access my desktop and use the files to build the project. That's the whole essence of MCP servers. Immediately, you can see Cloud accesses my desktop folder and the files, and we are now building this up by referencing to my data sources. It's important to note this would be the same case when it accesses your API or your other data sources. But it requires me to approve these steps, so I need to click Allow, and it keeps generating these files. To verify, the next step is to open the terminal and check if the files have been created. And as you can see, these files are getting generated and the app is slowly taking shape. Let's open it on VS Code to review the files and the code. This looks like everything is fine and the files are getting generated along with the code. Once the chat is too long, it eventually hits a stall since I'm using my Cloud free account. To resolve this, I'll open a new chat and ask Cloud to check the status of my project and continue with the build. You can imagine this is a new chat and I'm asking Cloud to reference the project and analyze the files to give me the status of the project. It analyzes the project and gives me a report and gives me a way for us to continue generating the files. This is the same approach you'd take to use MCP server to connect to other external data sources. That's how Cloud MCP works to connect your LLM with your data sources. If you think this is cool and you'd like to see more of these, check out this other video on the screen that takes you to the next step of building your first MCP server. It's actually simple and straightforward, don't overthink. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, kindly consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more such videos. Remember, your like, your subscribe is very important. One like, one subscribe takes me one more step forward to bringing you great content. Thank you, and I appreciate it.